Today, we're exposing 6 honey brands in the USA that you should avoid at all costs. But before we even get into the list, let me ask you a question most Americans never stop to think about. If honey is supposed to be one of the purest, simplest, most natural foods on the planet, then why have so many jars sitting on US grocery store shelves tested as anything but honey? Why do investigations from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, university food labs, and independent watchdog groups continue to uncover honey that's been ultrafiltered to erase its pollen, heated until all nutrients are destroyed, mixed with cheap foreign syrups, or imported through illegal routes to avoid detection? And the most uncomfortable question of all, is the honey you're buying actually honey? Or just a bottle of disguised syrup wearing a golden label? What you're about to hear isn't speculation, isn't rumor, and isn't internet myth. It's a breakdown of the real findings, real lab results, and real incidents behind some of the most misleading honey brands in the American market today. Number 1. Great Value Honey. Great Value Honey loves marketing itself as 100% American raw honey, with warm farmhouse imagery and rustic branding that screams authenticity. But when independent labs performed pollen analysis on multiple Great Value Honey bottles across several states, the results raised immediate suspicion. Almost no pollen was present. And when honey contains zero pollen, it's usually a sign of ultrafiltration, a process used to hide the honey's true origin. Why would a brand do that? Because a shipment connected to Great Value Honey's supplier had already been flagged years earlier for selling blended honey mixed with rice syrup, routed through multiple countries to cover its origin. One food researcher even noted that Great Value Honey didn't crystallize for over a year, which is extremely rare for natural honey, but very common for syrup-diluted blends. The label promises purity. The labs suggest a very different story. Number 2. Sue Bee Honey. Sue Bee Honey markets itself as a charming small batch brand, but an alarming incident in 2022 changed everything. A regional food safety initiative in the Midwest tested honey brands for contaminants, and several jars of Sue Bee honey contained traces of chloramphenicol, an antibiotic banned in U.S.-produced honey. When investigators dug deeper, they discovered that Sue Bee honey wasn't producing all of its honey at home. It was importing bulk honey from overseas, blending it, then labeling it as packed in the USA. This loophole is legal, but deeply misleading. A former employee anonymously claimed that darker U.S. honey was sometimes added to lighter imported honey to make it look believable. Seniors who buy honey for allergies or immune support would never imagine they're consuming questionable imports. The branding feels wholesome. The sourcing says otherwise. Number 3. Nature Nate's Honey. Nature Nate's Honey has a polished, clean, trustworthy look, the kind of bottle you'd grab without thinking twice about it. But when a well-known consumer investigation tested commercial honeys for enzyme levels, Nature Nate's Honey became a major point of concern. Why? Because the honey had almost zero diastase activity, an enzyme naturally present in real honey. When that enzyme is gone, it's because the honey was heated aggressively, sometimes above 160 degrees F, which destroys antioxidants, enzymes, and beneficial nutrients. Customers had also complained online that Nature Nate's honey tasted too smooth and too sweet, which is another sign of possible syrup addition. While not enough to trigger a recall, multiple rounds of independent tests showed that Nature Nate's honey was nutritionally closer to a sweetener than to natural honey. Premium image, ultra-processed reality. Number 4. Busy Bee Honey. Busy Bee Honey is sold as a warm, rich amber honey, but its supply chain history is where things get questionable. In 2020, a Texas port seized a large shipment suspected of being Chinese honey disguised through India, a known tactic to avoid high tariffs. That seized shipment wasn't labeled Busy Bee Honey, but investigators linked it to one of the same importers Busy Bee Honey used during that period. Months later, food researchers ran 12 blind tests on Busy Bee Honey bottles purchased from 3 major retailers. More than half showed signs of adulteration consistent with diluted or blended honey. In-home tests by consumers also revealed that Busy Bee honey remained thin and watery even after refrigeration, a common indicator of added syrup or excess heating. Real honey thickens. Low-quality honey doesn't. Busy Bee honey consistency raised every red flag in the book. Number 5. Clover Valley Honey. Clover Valley Honey is one of those brands that always seems too good to be true, mainly because it's extremely cheap. And in 2023, a university food science department unintentionally proved that point when testing honey samples for an unrelated project. Several bottles of Clover Valley honey were found to contain no detectable pollen. None. That means the honey was ultra-filtered to the point of being biologically untraceable. When brands remove pollen, it's usually because they don't want regulators identifying where the honey really came from. Multiple consumers also reported Clover Valley honey tasting unnaturally sweet with a light, almost syrupy texture. That overly perfect sweetness is a red flag for syrup adulteration, specifically rice or beet syrup. Clover Valley honey's price tag might look attractive, but the product inside rarely matches the expectations of real honey buyers. Number 6. Gunter's Honey. Gunter's Honey is a classic example of why the word blend should make consumers cautious. In a 2018 investigative documentary about honey fraud, industry insiders revealed that some companies legally mix small amounts of American honey with large amounts of cheap imported honey, then label it as a U.S. blend. That same documentary highlighted a supplier linked to Gunter's Honey distribution network. Later independent lab results showed Gunter's Honey contained high fructose rice syrup, commonly used as an adulterant in low-cost honey. Even worse, antioxidant tests showed levels lower than some pancake syrups, meaning most of the natural benefits of honey simply weren't there. Gunter's Honey sells patriotism on its label. What's inside the bottle is a global cocktail. So the next time you pick up a bottle of honey that looks pure, golden, and trustworthy, remember this: not every honey on American shelves is what it claims to be. Labels can mislead, origins can be hidden, and what seems natural can be quietly mixed, filtered, or heated until nothing real remains. If you want to protect yourself from brands that cut corners and learn which foods are truly safe, if this breakdown opened your eyes, make sure you subscribe to Food Alert, where we expose the hidden ingredients, misleading claims, and food brands you should think twice about buying. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next investigation.